for us. Dear colleagues, panelists, dear guests, good afternoon and welcome to the third panel of the third session. My name is Irina Piperkova. I'm from the Institute of Economics Skopje and I will moderate this panel. The panel includes 5 different but very current topics, including social media marketing, marketing nudges, perceptions on cryptocurrencies, and customer satisfaction in hospitality industry. First, we will hear all presentations and then we will continue to the discussion and Q&As when you can ask questions or add comments either by raising your digital hand or posting it in the chat section. For those of you who have joined us now, I would like to inform you that we have a rather tight agenda, so please follow the prescribed time of 10 minutes for presentation. This panel is also being recorded, as you already know. The first paper in this panel is Source Credibility Theory Applied to Influencer Marketing by Irena Bogoevska-Gavrilova and Anita Tsiunova-Shuleska. I would like to invite Ms. Irena Bogoevska-Gavrilova to present their paper. Ms. Irena.
Thank you. I will now just share my presentation, and if you can just let me know whether it is okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, I will wrap around 10 minutes. So as you have introduced me, thank you for letting me or giving me the opportunity to break the ice this panel. My name is Irena Bogoevska-Gavrilova, together with Professor Anita Tsiunova-Shuleska from the Faculty of Economics in Skopje. I will be presenting the paper titled Source Credibility Theory Applied to Influencer Marketing. So companies nowadays use various tactics to influence customers and their actual purchase behavior by creating positive associations with brands. In that direction, social media marketing, as part of the company's promotional mix I have mentioned, facilitates brand-related e-word of mouth through influencer marketing, among other instruments. So speaking about influencer marketing, today companies use endorsers, which are actually normal people, ordinary people. They are perceived as endorsers because they demonstrate product use, give information, are credible, attractive, and positively affect, in the end, the customer's purchase intention, which is one of the key results that every company aims its marketing activities at. So when it comes to positioning of the paper, the main aim of the research is to investigate the impact of social media users' perceptions about influencers' credibility on customers' purchase intention. So we base our study on the source credibility theory that actually explains the existence of several dimensions that comprise the message source credibility, which in turn affects purchase intention. So we assume that Instagram influencers' credibility positively affects customers' purchase intention. So our study is the first to empirically examine the effect of social media users' perceptions on 4 dimensions of source credibility, that is influencer credibility, on customers' purchase intention, with a focus on a certain social media platform, as I have mentioned, Instagram. So briefly, to explain the variables used in this paper, we have 4 dimensions, credibility dimensions, that is expertise, trustworthiness, attractiveness, and the next slide gives the similarity dimension. And the dependent variable is the purchase intention. So source expertise can be defined as the knowledge or skills a source have to give certain claims, views, to have an opinion around a certain topic. Trustworthiness means that the receiver of the message perceives the source, that is the influencer, to be honest, sincere, truthful, also reliable, dependable, possessing integrity, and being believable. Attractiveness, as you may suppose, it concerns the physical aspects of the source, such as likability, similarity, and attractiveness. When it comes to similarities, is also a separate dimension, because similarities in cultural background, demographics, and values between the endorser or the source and the social media user or the recipient facilitates source credibility. And purchase intention, lastly, is the possibility that customers will purchase a product and occurs prior to the actual purchase behavior. Having in mind the literature review elaborated, we propose 4 hypotheses regarding each of the dimensions when it comes to source credibility. So that is expertise dimension, trustworthiness dimension, attractiveness dimension, and similarity dimension positively affect of Instagram influencers credibility, positively affects customers' purchase intention. So we have constructed a questionnaire. We used an online survey and administered to social media users using purposive sampling to only those who use Instagram and follow influencers. Items regarding 3 of the dimensions, that is expertise, trustworthiness, and attractiveness, were adapted from the study of Rebello. We have also used Rebello from 2017 to derive our statements regarding customers' purchase intention. The similarity dimension was adapted from Maneka et al. From 2016. The degree of respondents' agreement with the statements regarding all variables, the 4 dimensions, and the purchase intention were captured using a 7-point Likert scale, where 1 was strongly disagree and 7 was strongly agree. We started with an initial sample of 126 respondents, and after the data cleanup, we ended up with an effective set of 76 participants. Yet, the sample size is above the recommended minimum level of at least 5 times as many observations as the number of variables to be analyzed according to Heer et al. In 2006. So we have run multiple regression analysis, and prior to that, we checked the reliability of scales using the Cronbach alpha coefficients, and Cronbach alpha values of each construct indicate high internal reliability of the data collected. We also assessed the construct validity using the principal component analysis with Promax rotation. We have extracted 5 factors explaining around 86% of the variance. We have also removed 2 items from 2 factors due to cross-loading problem. Also, I have to point out that the standardized factor loadings exceeded the 0.5 threshold values as recommended by Heer et al. From 2010. We also, before running the multiple linear regression method, we ensured that our variables in the proposed model meet all criteria when it comes to normality, linearity, homoscedasticity, and also absence of multicollinearity and absence of autocorrelation in the residuals. So analyzing the R-square and adjusted R-square values, we can conclude that all of the 4 dimensions of the source credibility explain 37 and respectively 36% variation in customers' purchase intention. However, analyzing p-values, we can accept H2 and H3, that is hypothesis 2 and hypothesis 3, regarding the positive effect of trustworthiness and attractiveness on customers' purchase intention, and reject the hypothesis regarding the influence of expertise and similarity. Also, trustworthiness has the strongest positive effect on purchase intention, followed by the attractiveness dimension. So this study is the first, as known by the authors, to focus on the direct effect of Instagram influencers' credibility as a 4-dimensional construct on customers' purchase intention. I will explain in the next slide that most of previous studies focus on the 3-dimensional construct or the mediating role of the credibility. We can conclude that we have positive effect of attractiveness and trustworthiness on Instagram influencers' credibility on customers' purchase intention. Yet, consumers' purchase intentions are not driven by expertise and similarity of the source. Our findings are in line with the 3 previous research studies listed in the slide. Besides the conclusions, we have valuable contributions in the scientific community and the business sector as well. The findings of the research paper contributes a lot because the study, as I have mentioned, focuses on the 4-dimensional construct of source credibility, unlike most of past research that investigated the 3 dimensions without the similarity dimension. Also, previous research studies mostly focus on the mediating role of credibility and its impact on advertising effectiveness instead of purchase intention. This study is valuable because it deepens the understanding of individual effect of each of the dimensions on customers' purchase intention when it comes to influence and marketing. And lastly, this paper is focused on one social network, that is Instagram. So the study also provides valuable guidance and insights for marketing practitioners as well. That affects companies' potential to actually reach customers and affect their intention to purchase the product being advertised. So marketing practitioners, guiding from our research results, should collaborate with Instagram influencers that have an attractive appearance and a reliable and trusted source of information, instead of focusing on knowledgeable influencers with similar characteristics as their potential customers or their followers. So besides being valuable, this due to several factors, this paper is not free of its limitations. So these limitations will serve as guides for future researches and proposal for future researches as well. So future researchers can use a larger sample size in order to generalize findings easier. Future research studies may also focus on the existence of possible differences in social media users' perceptions when it comes to different social media platforms. Also, future studies can include several countries to make comparison. And lastly, researchers should draw attention to the relationship between perceived trust in brand-related content that is created by social media influencers and customers' perception on influencers' credibility. So thank you for your attention. I think I managed to present everything in 10 minutes.
Yes, indeed, you did. Thank you very much, Ms. Bogoevska-Gavrilova, for this very interesting and in-depth presentation. The next paper is Effects of Nudges, Evidence from Macedonian Consumers by Ms. Anna Nevestik, Iliana Petrovska, and Anna Tomovska-Mishovska. So we have one more paper that is in the field of marketing. Ms. Anna, please share your presentation.
Yes, of course, right away. And thank you very much for the introduction. Firstly, let me know, can you see my screen well here?
Yes, yes.
Super done. Well, to start off, I'd like to introduce myself. As previously mentioned, my name is Anna, and today I will be representing a research on the effects of nudges with evidence from the Macedonian consumer, done by myself and my mentors and colleagues, Ms. Iliana, Anna, and Nadica. We all know that with the everyday challenge of the new living environment, as well as the everyday change with the customers, we need to get ahead and better understand how people function and think. Within a very cluttered advertising environment, where people are always bombarded with constant stimuli, we need to find the best possible strategies that we can catch their attention and show what we can offer and how we can better their lives. One way to get ahead is with the newly researched nudges, which one of the aims of this research was actually to see whether the use of these nudges can create a difference in the choice and perspective of the Macedonian consumer. Overall, we speculate on how these nudges, we're concentrating on three: the decoy, the anchoring, and the mirror exposure effect. We should start off firstly by saying what are nudges. They can be considered actually as rules or ways on how to push or direct someone's attention and choice towards an outcome. It actually starts in behavioral economics, going on the idea that there are psychological factors that influence the decisions of a person on a less than a conscious way. Research even shows and supports that much of our mental processing, including choices made as customers, are occurring on a subconscious level. Due to the limitations, as mentioned, we will be concentrating on the three nudges: decoy, anchoring, exposure, looking into the following three hypotheses. The first one being that by changing or adding a third asymmetrical option, preference of consumer changes, as well as that when adding a numerical anchor, prediction and perception of price change. And the third hypothesis going on the idea that previous exposure to a stimuli can lead to change in preference towards it when seen again. So mostly, to speak about the methodology, the research was conducted throughout an online causal experiment, survey experiment. Settings were created for each nudge previously mentioned, and conditions of these nudges were manipulated between groups. We had three groups created: two experimental, group A and B, and group C, which was a controlled group. Due to random random assignment tool that we added within the link, we can conclude that the difference between the groups is mostly because of our manipulations within the treatments. So with this, we had a total of 195 participants with 65 participants within each group. Data was analyzed with a chi-square test for significant difference in frequency of choice, with Kruskal-Wallis and Mann-Whitney test for differences between mean of ranks within groups. The first set of questions were only demographic questions that can be used in future researches to see whether there's differences between males and females, age differences, and so on. However, that's not the scope of our work today. To start off, we firstly go with the decoy theory to explain this in the most simple way. The theory goes by the concept that by existence of a third option, evidently inferior to one of the first two, we would subconsciously lead people to choosing the one that is most similar to it, but clearly superior. What happens here, as Dan Ariely, who is a very famous researcher on the topic, says, is that people tend to find things that remind them of one another. And when forced with too many alternatives, they simplify the process, group them together, and choose between what is most similar to them. Within our first question, we have people choose between popcorn of different sizes, as you can see within the pictures above. We see that there is, when analyzing all of this, we find that there is statistically significant difference when groups are presented with decoy. We did this by coding the target and decoy as the target in the group. For group A, we had the target become together with the decoy, the large option, and with group B, the small. There were no changes in group C, especially since there were only two options. When comparing in between groups, group A has statistically significant difference with both groups B and C, while group B does not have statistical significant difference from group C. Within our second question, while of course searching throughout the first hypothesis, we get that our participants are given the option to choose between three prizes. The first prize is chips and a thematic toy versus chips and a thematic pillow. They have won them since they are 100 customer of the cinema that they are going into. Within the groups, for example, group A has a decoy added, which is an option of only a toy, and group B has added an option of only a pillow. By analyzing this setting, we see no statistically significant difference in choice between any of the groups. And this actually means that the existence of a decoy in this setting created no significant change in the frequency that we would wish our target to be chosen. Results of this research actually lead us to believe that we cannot fully accept the first hypothesis, nor we can fully accept its nullity hypothesis. Our next research actually was done on the anchoring effect, and it researches the second hypothesis. In short, the main principle for anchoring is that people tend to stick with the first information they have of something. They tend to adjust their expectation towards it and have similar perceptions and so on. Research here evidently shows that this can be created with random generated numbers as well. With this theory, we see here that participants had three watches which had numerical anchors. One group had high anchors, the second one had lower ones, which were the original price of the fourth watch that is given on the picture here. Within our represented analysis, we can see that there is statistically significant difference within all of the groups. We can see that there's difference while in estimated value with the analysis, and we find difference in all the cases. With this set of questions, we actually had an additional situation when we shared the real price of the watch and asked participants to evaluate and share their perception of it, whether it is low or adequate versus high. Both groups A and B have significant difference in higher choice of low and adequate evaluation of price compared to group C. However, not between each other. This is most likely since Group B had the original price of the watch as an anchor. As a second question for anchoring, we have the same or similar situation with some hammocks who were a little bit new to this year's popularity. Group A had the highest assumption here instead of as expected. However, Group B had the lowest one, which was around 2,459 dinars. Between this, we again get statistically significant difference between estimations of group and also within the perception of prices. Evidence here shows that there is statistically significant difference within all settings for all of our questions created, meaning that we can conclude that the anchoring does create change in perception of price and on prediction of it, meaning that the second hypothesis can be accepted. In our final set of questions, we actually analyzed the mirror exposure effect. Here we had the three below shown pictures, the first and the third one, as headers and backgrounds within the whole questionnaires, meaning that they were being exposed to the participants for around 5 minutes. Here we had statistically insignificant results, however, very close to significant. If we need, for example, P to be below 0.05, here we had 0.051. We did detailed research afterwards, however, still found insignificant research. Overall, here we find that the third hypothesis cannot be accepted, and mere exposure to a stimulus does not lead to future liking or preference towards it. In our case, as with previous research, evidence of the use of nudges is unclear. It is evident that in some cases they can create change, they can lead to different perceptions and to favorable outcomes. However, this is not the case for all of the situations. From what we have so far, we can definitely say that they need to be carefully evaluated and adapted towards company nudging, depending on who is nudging, why, where, when, and how. Within our three nudges, we can see that the use of the decoy theory could possibly help in the future in steering choice from one product to another, could help in choosing and creating better and smarter products and offers, and lead to overall higher revenue. Anchoring with its influence can possibly create and help with product positioning and create better promotions that are more acceptable towards customers. And if mere exposure is proven to be efficient, it could help in better understand optimal frequencies and placement of advertisement. Within these three effects, we need to keep in mind that also there is a cost versus benefit of using them for any given situation. For example, in our case, we had strangely the decoys chosen, which was not the case with previous research. We need to see how much would it cost to actually have the decoy within the option, whether it is, for example, proving itself as a middle option and not as a decoy. And we need to keep in mind that sometimes these nudges can be unconsciously used by businesses, meaning we unpurposely are guiding our customers, clients, and people overall towards the opposite thing that we want them, towards the opposite target. Overall, by knowing how nudges work, companies can choose to include or exclude different tactics within their strategies and lead to higher targeted outcomes. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope I didn't pass the time limit. I was going as fast as I could for all of this.
Sorry, your microphone is muted.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Nevestic, for sharing the insights of your research. Your presentation, as well as the presentation of Ms. Irena Bogoevska-Gavrilova, were very instructive to all of us, not only to marketers and businesses, but also to us as well, who are mere customers in this case. The next paper to be presented in this panel is The Relationship Between Restaurant Management and Customer Satisfaction by Natasha Miteva and Dušica Popova. Ms. Natasha, please, the mic is yours.
Dear organizing committee, dear participants, thank you very much for the opportunity to participate at your International Scientific Conference and be part of your 17th anniversary of the Institute of Economics. The presentation is loading. Please tell me if you can see it. Yes?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So our research topic is relationship between restaurant management and customer satisfaction. we have included some brief introduction, explanation of the restaurants as a service-oriented businesses, touching management discipline and its role, presentation of research and results, and at the end we have listed some recommendations regarding the topic researched. So businesses traditionally didn't always place customers in the center of their operations, as you all know. On the contrary, they had their stakeholders in the focus, and all the operations were done in order to please them. With the appearance of globalization and having many countries taking down their market entry barriers, the level of competition has increased tremendously, causing changes in every aspect of the business operations and the managerial decisions. As a result, we have businesses that are looking for sustainability and putting customers in the center of their operations, following many managerial decisions to shift towards them too. So differently, we want to point out differently from the product-oriented industries, service-oriented industries are among the biggest in the world today and in the economy. And their growth is not only in terms of value and volume, but also in terms of complexity and sophistication too. So service-oriented businesses, by definition, are in direct relation with the customers, which have the immediate influence on the end offer. As such, they must make meeting the customers' needs and wants a priority. And by doing this, they gain the customer satisfaction and loyalty, and hence they have the profit increase. Hospitality industry is a people-oriented industry, which requires person serving other person, so their service has to become even more challenging regarding its diversity besides its quality. To further help the managers understand their businesses and the industries they are in it, researchers have established a classification system for services according to which the restaurants are defined as the service-oriented businesses with some tangible actions and services that are aimed at people. Looking closely at the restaurant operations, it is not a secret that there isn't any customer who would ever come back if they had a bad experience or bad customer service. Although the literature review already states all the positive relationship between the service quality, the customer satisfaction in the restaurant industry, the goal of this research paper is to look further at the customers and test two hypotheses. So the first hypothesis states that the restaurant management adds value to the dining experience. And the second hypothesis states that the restaurant management has a positive influence on the customer perception. To do so, we based our research on the restaurant concept, which includes several elements. I will just name them here: location, ambient and atmosphere, food and beverage, management, employee service, price. We have also quality, menu, service, and so on. In the paper, there is a brief explanation of each element of the restaurant concept, but I would like just to point out the element management, because managers are the creators of the restaurant concept, but also they are part of the concept, because there are 3 stages in the exchange between the customer and the restaurant. The first stage is called expectations, and it happens before the customer comes to the restaurant. The second stage is current experience, and the third stage is called impression, either positive or negative, with which the customer leaves the restaurant. At each stage, there is a certain level of managerial involvement, reliability for achieving satisfaction. What's important here, it is important to mention that there is a greater concentration of management in the second phase. And that's why we have based our research on exactly the concept. So the research was conducted online with the distribution of questionnaire done with Google Forms. There are 155 totally analyzed questionnaires. The overall restaurant management was measured through 23 questions divided into 6 elements, which I mentioned before. The service user satisfaction was measured by asking 3 questions related to the received service, the overall access of the employees, and the overall impression for choosing a specific restaurant. The Likert scale of 5 values was used in order to evaluate the questions in interval from 1 to 5, from least to most. The reliability of the questionnaire was confirmed by the Cronbach alpha coefficient. The relationship between the elements of the restaurant management and the satisfaction of the service users and the confirmation of the specified hypothesis set out in this paper has been tested by applying structural equation modeling. All the data was statistically processed with the software package SPSS version 19 and SPSS AMOS version 22. As you can see on the slide, we have table 1 based on the obtained value for Cronbach alpha coefficient for internal consistency of data grouping of 0.87. The reliability of the questionnaire was proven. Structural equation modeling was used in order to determine what's the impact of the relationship between the restaurant management and the customer service satisfaction in the restaurants. And here, from the values in table 1, you can see that it is concluded that the model of the structural equations shown are appropriate and can be approached to test the set of hypotheses. Then we have presented the model of the connection and the influence of the restaurant management with the satisfaction of service users in the restaurants. And again, we have another table with values that indicate that each of the hypotheses set are strongly supported by the statistically significant regression coefficient method at the significance level of p as lower than 0.001. Restaurant management significantly affects the satisfaction of the customer service in the restaurants. You can see here all the elements: location, ambience, and atmosphere, food and drink, staff service, price, and management, which all have a significant impact on the restaurant management. Also, we have included some of the elements of the charts that came up from the data analysis. You can see on the slide that the location as an element has a strong impact on the customers when choosing the restaurant management and the restaurant, and that's all part of the management before opening and with the management while managing. Food and beverages also show that there is a high percentage when asked about the quantity from the customers that when asked about the quantity, the external appearance, the temperature, the consistency, and the diversity, and also strong relationship, strong link, and high percentage when asked about the mood of when asked about the staff. They appreciate kind staff, committed, in a good mood, with a readiness and education. Just a brief conclusion and recommendation that we have included. We want to point out that in today's competitive business market, customer satisfaction is the key to success, especially when it comes to service-oriented businesses as restaurants. Customers influence the post-purchase behavior. Their satisfaction is deemed to be critical for all the businesses due to the influence on repeated purchase, word-of-mouth recommendations, and so on. That's why our research shows a strong relationship with the restaurant management, because management involvement is vital to the success of the restaurant, and the research findings underscore the importance of the restaurant management for the satisfaction and the loyalty. So our recommendations involve following the restaurant concept elements, indeed, and putting the customers in focus. Thank you very much for your attention. We will stay for the discussion part.
Thank you, Ms. Miteva. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. The next paper to be presented in this panel is Romanian Students' Perception of Cryptocurrencies by Faraonel Benjamin Vladut, Yelea Alexandra Raluca, and Matsu Mara. Please excuse and correct me if I have mispronounced your names, but I'm very pleased to say that we do have an international group here in this panel, so welcome to our Romanian colleagues, and please do your presentation.
Thank you, no problem, you are okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We are a group of 3 marketing PhD students at Alexandru Ioan Cuza University of Iași, Romania. My name is Vlad, and together with my colleagues, Mara and Alexandra, we'll present our study entitled Romanian Students' Perception of Cryptocurrency. Please unmute my colleagues, Alexandra and Mara, as well, so that we can make the presentation together.
We're
okay.
They are already, yes, they are already unmuted.
Thank you, thank you. At first, I will shortly walk through our presentation structure. As you can see, we will talk about cryptocurrencies, about our research model, findings, and the conclusion of our study. But first, what are cryptocurrencies? A cryptocurrency is a form of digital currency designed to work as a medium of exchange It uses strong cryptographic technology to ensure that security of financial transactions and control the creation of new units. Basically, a cryptocurrency is a digital asset that you can use for buying goods or services, trading it like a share, or simply collecting it. Fun fact, currently out there are over 10,000 cryptocurrencies.
Okay, I will briefly explain what we did. So cryptocurrencies are relatively new on the market because they've appeared in 2008, and thus there are not so many scientific articles on this topic. And in addition, attitudes towards cryptocurrencies have been in extremes, we would say, for the past decade. Some researchers and also lay people have a positive attitude towards them due to the new opportunities that the blockchain technology brings, but others state that this is an unexplored technology and thus an unstable market which can be used as a tool for criminal activities or for skipping social responsibilities like taxes. Well, among these contradictory opinions, we consider that it is important to know and analyze the opinions of our future generation students. And we think this should be a point of interest for researchers in fields like anthropology, economics, business administration, human resources, and many others. Now, concerning Romanian students' perceptions of cryptocurrencies, the few articles we have found opted for a quantitative approach. And in order to complete the scientific literature from a methodological point of view, we have chosen a qualitative approach for our study, and we used two well-known techniques, top of mind and Chinese portrait. Thus, for 98 students, we wanted to see firstly which are the first words that they think about when hearing the word cryptocurrency, which is basically what the top of mind technique consists of. And secondly, what other correlations students make if we ask them to associate the word cryptocurrency with multiple domains, which is what Chinese portrait technique consists of. So for the top of mind, the most mentioned word was money, as you can see, Bitcoin, which is the most known cryptocurrency and which is also the first cryptocurrency that appeared on the market. But like we have said, and in order like we have said, attitudes are again in extreme. There are people who are also associate this word with scams and frauds and negative words.
Okay, so I will take it from here. Over 45% of the respondents associate cryptocurrencies with the leading and oldest one, Bitcoin. Probably you've also heard about this currency. Even given the fact that we ask this question to simply find what real currency, will they associate crypto, they instantly pointed out Bitcoin. It is a really strong brand, we can say. Just a second. A tremendous amount of respondents stated that crypto will be a male if crypto will be a gender. That's curious because we had more females than males that responded to our questionnaire. We think that this happened because of the crypto world is technology-oriented world, and currently in our country, in Romania, a lot of the workers in this field are males. And if cryptocurrency were an occupation, which occupation will be? The first three positions are occupied by professions directly associated with cryptocurrency: businessmen, IT workers, and traders. If we look at the other professions, we can see that they are really similar to the top three ones: entrepreneur, investor, and CEO. Also, there are some curious responses like gambler and politician. We can assume this happens because currently the crypto world is not as regulated as we wanted it to be. And over 48% stated that cryptocurrency will be in the 18-25 interval of age. that somehow we anticipated because the crypto world is relatively young. The first cryptocurrency appeared 14 years ago, so it's a young field to play with. And the majority of the surveyed students stated that American citizenship would fit the cryptocurrency profile the best. This is another curious fact because the first crypto invented was developed in Japan by Satoshi Nakamoto. We can assume that the respondents gave crypto USC nationality because the main discussion are made in English.
Okay, so besides the questions for the Chinese portrait method, we also wanted to know how reliable cryptocurrencies are perceived. So as we can see here, we had a question where the respondents had to give a number from 1 to 10, 1 meaning that they feel it's reliable and 10 meaning it's very reliable. And as we can see from this chart, people responded the most like a 6, for example, so they are somewhat in the middle. But in the same time, we can see that 8 people responded 1. So even though the majority feels that cryptocurrencies are reliable, there is also a small portion of the respondents that think they are not so reliable, or at least they perceive them as not being so reliable. And besides that, the next one is how secure cryptocurrencies are. So we can also see that there is a rise from 6, to 7, 8, 9, and 10, which means that most respondents perceive cryptocurrencies as being secure. But we can also see that some of them perceive them as being less secure. And the third value is how trustworthy are cryptocurrencies. Again, most of the people gave a strong 8, but we also have 12 respondents that said 1. Well, all of these values, we can see these shifts, like we have a high amount of people that said that gave high numbers, but also a high amount of people giving 1. Maybe it's because the fact that, I don't know, a short time ago, cryptocurrencies crashed, let's say, so they like decreased their value, and maybe this altered a little bit the perception of the respondents. And we also asked them which are the channels, that students get their information from. So we can see here that the one that has the highest replies is YouTube, and then we have friends and family. So these are the channels and the people that influence students the most, And then we also asked them which influencers they follow. So we have Elon Musk and then Georgia Buhnic. I believe everyone knows Elon Musk. As for Georgia Buhnic, he's actually a Romanian influencer that has a YouTube channel which he talks about the newest technology, so he's like super trending in Romania. And now to conclusions. So as we saw from our study, cryptocurrencies are known between students because first of all, we asked them if they have heard about cryptocurrency to see how they perceive them, because if they never heard about it, then we cannot ask, a perception. And from the questions that we asked them, we realized that the majority of them would like to invest into cryptocurrency, but if they have, for example, a scholarship from the university, they wouldn't invest their all of the amount, When it comes to money, Bitcoin is the one that is mostly found in consumers' mind, let's say. And then the Romanian students perceived cryptocurrencies as strong and masculine, that comes from gender, and the occupation, yeah. But at the same time, from the age question, we can see that they are relatively young on the market. And in the end, they are perceived as being trustworthy and reliable, but we also encountered some negative perception, like my colleague said in the beginning, like scam, money laundering, insecure, and we just have to raise the awareness from which channels we inform ourselves.
And now for our research limitations, just a clarification. Firstly, we wanted to
Excuse me, please try to wrap it up with this last slide because your time is up.
Oh yeah, this is actually the last slide. So
Thank you. Thank you.
like I've said, firstly, we wanted to do some face-to-face semi-structured interview, but because of the pandemic conditions, we did everything online, and we asked our respondents to complete Google Forms. And yeah, we cannot be sure how sincere they were because, like I've said, we did everything online, even if we wanted this to be face to face. But yeah, this is it. And for future research, it would be nice to make a comparison between perceptions of students from different specializations, especially if we would like to see if perceptions are different if students come from economic education background and from other education backgrounds. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. The next paper should have been Brand Communication on Instagram by Iliana Petrovska, Ivo Paunovsky, and Boško Tanevski. Unfortunately, our colleagues canceled their presentation just yesterday. So this is why now we are opening the floor for discussions. If you have any questions or comments, please either raise your digital hand or post it in the chat part. We have heard some great presentations in this panel, and I'm sure that the topics covered have raised great interest in the audience. In the meantime, I would like to ask our colleagues from Romania, because this was they presented last, and about their opinion on cryptocurrencies. You had a wonderful presentation, and this is a topic that it is very, very current. Cryptocurrencies are in the focus of interest today, but as you have mentioned it in your presentation as well, we have witnessed a crash of the prices of cryptocurrencies. They are like roller coasters in this last year. So do you think that investors will be more reluctant to invest in cryptocurrencies? And do you think that this market will be regulated in near future?
Yes, in the meantime, we saw a crash on the Bitcoin world, to say so. But this is not the first, and for sure, this is not the last. Because 2 or 3 years ago, it was like the same. The market crashed. But now we have also some other options like NFTs, non-fungible tokens, we can invest in. Of course, there are over 10,000 cryptocurrencies out there. So it's not, it's for sure there are ones that are scams. And this is what this 2 or 3 weeks ago, a cryptocurrency named Luna has made a dump scene. I mean, they was like very high, and the next day was down, and they wiped up the cryptocurrency of the market. So if will be regulated in the near future, I think that crypto will be more embraced by crypto community, and the other ones that are maybe too scared to enter the market for now. I mean, this is the case for El Salvador, a country in Americas, that they made this Bitcoin cryptocurrency a legal tender, so that you can use to buy bread or buy services in El Salvador, and they will continue to buy Bitcoin for their treasure. So I think will be the future, but in some decades maybe.
Yes, not in the near future at least. Why? Well, we live in a digital era, so why not digital money? Do you think that it will be the currency of the future? Like globally accepted currency in the future?
I don't think that crypto, one crypto will be the future, because crypto is based on a technology named blockchain. This is currently used by many industries, not only the investment, the services. And I think that in the future, maybe every country will have a digital coin to use it. So I don't think that Bitcoin or Ethereum or any cryptocurrency will be the future. I think that will be a centralized one for every country, maybe every islands like European Union or America. But as a private cryptocurrency, I don't think it will be the future for a country or many countries.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I also have one question to Ms. Natasha Miteva about their paper. According to your opinion, what are the 2 or 3 most important aspects of the restaurant management for customer satisfaction? I mean, you have mentioned that a lot of aspects need to be fulfilled in order to reach customer satisfaction. And indeed, customer satisfaction is maybe one of the most complex issues. But what would you say is a must in the restaurant management to achieve customer satisfaction?
Regarding the elements that we have analyzed from the restaurant concept, management is number 1 element. So all of the customers are looking at the management. If there is something wrong with the location, the management is responsible. If there is something wrong with the food and the beverage, the management is responsible. They are expecting the management to take the consequences for every decision-making process ever made in the restaurant management. So as I mentioned, there are 3 stages and they are all important for the customers. Maybe as a second, we have listed, but it is not on the presentation, it's in the research paper. The service is also an important element from the restaurant concept, because there is a direct and indirect service. And every customer that you want to retain, to come for a repeated purchase, you have to offer, the restaurant management has to offer that indirect service, meaning, I don't know, charging your telephone, charger for telephone, or maybe call a cab, taxi, or I don't know, some kind of indirect service that every customer expects. Be online, order online, use, as other colleagues mentioned, some Bitcoins maybe for paying. And of course, the food and the beverages is also an important element that gave us even higher percentages on the questionnaire. Meaning they are looking at the presentation of the food, the quantity, the quality. They want diversity, but they don't want changing the menu all the time, changing the food and the beverage. So those are the 3 or the most expected elements to give higher expectation, meaning higher satisfaction and loyalty when it comes to the concept element.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Miteva. I believe I have time for one more short question, and this is to Ms. Bogoevska Gavrilova. You said that endorsers should be perceived as credible and even more trustworthy. Do you think that we have enough digital influencers in Macedonia that could be good endorsers? And do you think that our businesses make the most of this kind of marketing?
Yeah, a great question. Thank you. Influencer marketing in Macedonia is it's the very beginning. So we can see companies collaborating with influencers, and due to number of followers, our Macedonian influencers are actually micro influencers. So yes, companies nowadays intensively use collaborators, endorsers such as digital influencers, and mostly on Instagram. So our influencers are mostly they use the communication channel Instagram, less YouTube and less Facebook as channels. So they have a certain impact because they have an audience that engages with them. So customer engagement is another aspect that can be analyzed when it comes to influencer marketing and social media marketing generally. So we can see that what does customer or consumer social media user engagement means? It means several aspects. It can mean just reading the content, or an active participation with commenting, liking, that is contributing. So we can see that our audience, the Macedonian audience, contribute to content created by Macedonian influencers. They comment, they engage with them, they share their stories, share their content. So it is quite exciting to see where this will go in the future. How much of this influencer marketing in Macedonia will actually evolve.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. As we are approaching the end of this panel, I would like to just make a short wrap up of this panel. All presentations tackled important issues, including social media marketing, the potential effects of nudges on consumers, important restaurant management aspects to achieve consumer satisfaction, and perceptions of students as future potential investors in cryptocurrencies. Our panel is coming to an end. I would like to thank all the great speakers and the audience for taking part in this panel and for your contribution to the conference. Please remain on this link. We will have a short break, and then we continue with the fourth and the last panel in this session. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.